There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Earlier this week, Minnesota's Secretary of State, Steve Simon, officially denied a request from the Department of Justice to open up its voter rolls and voter data to the federal government. Now, this makes absolutely zero sense when you understand that Steve Simon often touts that Minnesota has one of the most secure election systems in the country. But thou doth protest too much, methinks. Now, what's the context? Election integrity is a top issue over and over again for a majority of Americans. And when President Donald J. Trump won the 2024 election with a mandate winning the popular vote and the Electoral College, he is now going state by state, his Department of Justice is, and asking states like Minnesota that have these insane election laws on the books to show us the data. Show the federal government that there are, in fact, not a bunch of non-residents and criminal aliens on our voter roll. The truth of the matter is that Minnesota allows automatic voter registration. Now, that automatic voter registration is triggered anytime someone applies for a driver's license, photo ID, or any government benefits. Now, you might be saying, well, what's the problem there? Well, in Minnesota, we also give IDs, driver's license, and government benefits to non-residents and criminal aliens, like literally. Now, my personal feeling, I think that Minnesota has one of the most corrupt voting systems in the country. I think that it's insane that we have same-day voter registration without an ID and that you can actually vouch for up to 10 people. And don't even get me started on the 46-day early voting window in Minnesota. Now, the problem is whenever you have these systems for voting and you have things like being able to vouch for 10 people and voting early for 46 days and automatic voter registration and trust us, wink, wink, nod, nod, we're making sure that non-residents and criminal aliens aren't automatically registering to vote. When you have systems like that, it erodes the confidence of the people that want to vote. And specifically in Minnesota, this has affected Republicans. Democrats don't care because they win everything. So there's no disenfranchisement that's happening on the Democrat side. But Republicans 100% believe that this system is so rotted and corrupt that it's not even worth their time. At least there's a sizable portion in my estimation. Now, my guess is that the Department of Justice isn't just going to sit back and be like, oh, shucks, I guess not. Because you now have a disagreement between the states and the federal government, I believe the Supreme Court of the United States will hear an expedited hearing so they can make a decision. So what do you think? Should we just trust Secretary Steve Simon that Minnesota has the most secure election system in the United States? Or do you think he should open up the books to let a third party, the Department of Justice, take a look and see whether or not that's true? Now, what's interesting is this time last year, the Republican Party of Minnesota joined together with the RNC to formally ask Secretary Steve Simon to prove that non-residents and criminal aliens were not registering to vote, and he refused to do it. And after some back and forth, some finger pointing saying, well, that's actually the Department of Public Safety. They hold that data. And then the Department of Public Safety is saying, well, actually, this is a Secretary of State issue. But the end result of that was the federal government during the Biden administration was not interested in helping at all in the cause of both the RNC and the Republican Party of Minnesota. So there was like a little bit of like capitulation by Steve Simon. He announced that he was suspending 1,000 automatic voter registrations to review them, but then he never actually told us what happened. And because, again, the federal government at that time was not interested in supporting the RNC and the Republican Party of Minnesota, they just looked the other way. Well, that time is over, my friends. And I've been saying this for the last year, that one of the reasons I was so hopeful of President Trump being able to win another term is that we would finally have someone like Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice that down in Florida investigated the stuff on a regular basis, that she knew that specifically Minnesota has some real issues that need to be at least investigated. So I think that once the Department of Justice gets access to these files, hopefully charges will come. but more specifically, at least they will have access to the data so they can start to show exactly how corrupt the system is.